So I was thinking we'd yeah.
He stole your coffee.
What's that?
He stole your coffee.
Do you have announcements to make or anything?
No. I will, like, at the very end.
Okay. Well, let's get started with the open session. We only have about a half hour, I think, so we can turn you loose for lunch and see what's going on. So we looked at this, and there were some questions, lingering questions, some left over. And I was going to jump into a couple of these really quickly to address them the best I can. If there are other people out there that want to address them, I'll hand you the mic. And I like this question, and it's been something we've been trying to do about the digital commons resources online. We have this really great thing at all the campuses where you can go in and you can do this stuff and be supported, but we also have about 23,000 online enrollments via the World Campus. And so we've been looking at tools that support people via a browser-based interface for video editing. And something that Chris Millay and the team have come up with, and we're beginning to look at this, is this thing called Kaltura. And I'm not going to steal Hannah's thunder because she's going to do a much better job of this. But basically what this is this is a standard video that was produced on Monday in the digital media workshop. And so if those of you who were here saw this stuff, it's pretty crazy. But I can edit this right in the browser. So if I hit this, it actually loads up what looks like essentially iMovie. And I can do video production via the browser. What's interesting about this is not only can I do my own stuff here, but I can search Creative Commons repositories, pull in music, drop them in as tracks. It does transitions, full-on video editing in the browser. So this is the timeline that you would have typically with iMovie, right? The only difference is you're pulling clips from your clip place up there and you're doing it all online completely. And then it'll save and store back to the server, and then you can share it out. And then you can either allow people to remix it again, so you could say, I want to let people remix this, and they could add their own stuff to it. Or you can share it, embed it on a web page, on a blog, or whatever. So this is something that we've been working on for a little while now. The ITS streaming server, which is at streaming.psu.edu, is a QuickTime streaming server. And the direction that we're proposing to move in is that you will use the blogs at Penn State. You'd go into your dashboard and you'd click video upload. And essentially what would happen is you'd end up with a YouTube-like thing that goes on where FFmpeg happens in the background, automatically converts it, potentially drops your file right into your pass space, and then you could manipulate it using Kaltura. So to address the needs of students at a distance, what we think we can do is offer browser-based video editing. And I know Hannah's going to talk a little bit more about it. I don't want to say too much because I don't really know any more about it. But this is the direction that that's going. Not only is this here, but some of the other resources like sample projects and rubrics and things are available at the Digital Commons website for use as well. So that's browser-based editing. How do I get out of that, Chris? Like that. Okay. So that's that one. Blogs at Penn State and open sharing. The last session was awesome. I thought that was just incredible. And I saw dozens and dozens of tweets going around that was sort of saying, so what can we do here at Penn State? Well, we have a couple of examples. We had mentioned the Biology 12 course, but I wanted to show something that was produced about 2 years ago using the Blogs at Penn State platform. So this is an IST piece, IST topic from IST 110, and it's content that used to be delivered via Angel, right? And it's been moved into the Blogs at Penn State. This is just a standard blog. As you can see, here it is, and here are the lessons and all these kinds of things. Each lesson was authored as a page of content or a post of content, a separate post. And what's interesting about this is that we call it a master course. And what that means is, so this would sit in a central repository, like courses.tlt.psu.edu or something. And then if I'm teaching this course, or if I want to make this course available, I can add a widget to my sidebar that literally links to the XML download of this entire course. So clicking that brings up this thing, and I don't know what I'd open that with, but all it is a single text file. You'd take that text file and you'd go into your own Blogs at Penn State dashboard, upload it, and you've essentially recreated the entire course. And then you could customize it, style it, do whatever you want to it, save it in your own personal web space, and add whatever content you wanted to the course. It doesn't manipulate the original course back here that maybe was agreed upon by a group of designers or something. Why does sub you ever celebrate then regret it the next day? I can answer that. I can answer that. But that's essentially an easy way to use the blogs platform to do courseware sharing. It's funny, I showed that off at E-Education Council like 2.5 years ago, and people looked at me like I had like 6 heads. Sort of like the way some of you are looking at me right now. So should we address the why does Chris Stubbs always over-celebrate then regret it the next day?
It has the most votes.
It does have them. How do we let Stubb address that? Yeah, so what else do you got there?
There's another question at the top about, aside from events like this, how can we take advantage of the community during the rest of the year? One of the things that we've decided to do is kind of a strategic direction is we have the annual Teaching and Learning with Technology Symposium in the spring. Jeff, where are you there? Do you have the date for next year? March 27th? Okay. Is that your birthday, Cole?
It's a day before my birthday.
Okay. So it's always around Cole's birthday because it's like a national holiday for us.
That was awesome.
He always enjoys that, like, you know, having all these responsibilities, and it's like his big culmination right around his birthday. His wife and kids like that, too.
I love that they can't spend my birthday.
Yeah. Well, that's... anyway. Can we make the announcement of who we have coming in?
Yeah, I think it's more than fair game. The contract's been signed.
Okay, so this year we have Michael Wesch coming, which is going to be a huge deal. I've seen him present before. He's a fantastic Lessig-like presenter. If you want... Okay, better than Lessig. If you've seen Lawrence Lessig present before, you know, he's great. Michael Wesch does the same kind of rapid-fire thing, but it's really, really interesting stuff. He runs the digital ethnography project out of Kansas State, and his is the videos that I mentioned online. But I think that's a good example because he doesn't have a great set of resources, but he's incorporating everything that we're talking about during this conference, the kind of open educational resources, getting his students to create projects through something like our Digital Commons, just releasing everything in the open and really making a name for himself.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm working to bring him in Thursday night, which would mean we would have him all day Friday. And basically what I'm offering is an open invitation to start thinking about what you'd like to have us do with Michael while he's here. So last year when we had David Wiley, we put together meetings with different people on campus. He spent time with some instructional designers. I'd like to do the same thing with Michael Wesch. And if you write his name down, or I guess you probably have a computer in front of you, some of you, and you could Google him and find out what he's all about, what he does. He just gave a talk recently that was just mind-blowing, and I think you ought to take a look at that. And then think about the kinds of ways that it could impact your initiatives here at University Park. And I will offer, if there are folks at campuses who would like to come up and spend that time with him as well, just send me an email and we'll work that out as well. But if there are things that you want to be able to do and think about with Wesch, please, we're paying for him to come here. He's a wonderful guy, and I know he'd be more than happy to spend time with you. So,
Again, with the strategic plan here, what we're trying to do is make the TLT Symposium not just one event, but a series of events. And put other things under that umbrella. So the Alan Levine visit that was in Foster Auditorium was, another event that we announced to people like yourself, and we'd invite you to come and have kind of these open discussions. Learning Design Summer Camp, we're planning a digital commons tailgate for the fall that'll be in one of the western campuses, Chris, probably? Monalto? Okay. So we're trying to, get out to where people are. We're trying to discuss topics that are interesting to everybody. If you have other ideas of people that you'd like to bring in, please let us know. But we also have the Learning Design Community Hub. We have, our Twitter feed. Our TLT website has actually been massively redesigned by Audrey there. Audrey? Did you put up your little hand? Okay, thank you. She's so shy. But it's a really great site. We have a lot of, like the coffee reads, the Daily Buzz that Jamie Oberdick does every day. Thank you, Jamie. Those are awesome. We have all the videos that we're producing. So we're really trying to get everything that we're doing out in the open. And a lot of the videos, in fact, are on our TLT YouTube channel, and you can embed them wherever you want if they're useful. But we're trying to make this a year-round event, so people can get this stuff throughout the year.
Let's mention the fact that we're working on this section of the site right now. So under the About, there's this thing called Connecting with TLT. that will give you information about what each of the different kinds of news items, pieces that we have, what we're offering, and all those kinds of things. How to stay connected, Google Reader, those kinds of things. Where we are across the social web, on TLT, on Twitter. You mentioned Flickr, we mentioned YouTube. So we have all these different channels where we're producing content and putting it out there. And if you want to know how to connect all those things, you can come right to the website. I don't have an answer to the ID Community Hub. I think it's something that we have to continue to work on, but that has to be an open sort of invitation.
Yeah, one thing I want to say about that is there's a lot of resources on the Community Hub, but it's not working in terms of getting us to talk to each other. People are posting, you know, hey, this thing's happening and that's it. So there's something not right with it, and we need to, as a community, we need to figure that out. And maybe one of the possible venues that we can use to do that, and something that we haven't mentioned yet, is what we're calling the All ID meeting, and I've run that for a couple of years now. It's the first Friday of every month. It's usually at 10 o'clock. Those of you that are on campus here are welcome to come join us. It's usually down in 202 K Ryder, but we also do it through Adobe Connect, and we've well reached the point where there's more people coming in through Adobe Connect than there are face-to-face. So probably I'm thinking one of the next sessions we should do is maybe this is an issue we should try to tackle, is how can we as a community start to get together and you know, the thread that binds the bones between these face-to-face events, what can we do to keep that going?
Yeah, the other thing I'll say about that is you don't have to be an instructional designer, because most of us in this room are not. This is the Learning Design summer camp, because all of us touch the design of teaching and learning. If you're just a programmer, if you're a Flash developer, if you're one of our marketing people, I mean, you're still affecting teaching and learning and getting the word out and thinking about the same issues. So it's important for all of us.
Do people have thoughts about how to beef up the community as well? So, you know, this is the part where I'd like for you to say something. Just throwing it out there. Do you guys have? I mean, are there things that we could be doing better? I think is the big question, and I know that may not be a question that can be answered now, but we need help with this as well. I mean, I think a lot of the things that we're trying to do are geared around the idea of answering the question of we don't know what's going on, we don't know what's happening, we don't know what's coming down the pike, and I don't know how else to share that information. And so, any ideas that you have for me or for us or Alan or any one of us in this room, you have to understand that our ears are wide open and we're trying to figure out what the best channels are. And it may look like we're overwhelming people a lot of times because we have so many channels, but we're testing them out. This is all uncharted waters for us. So know that we welcome any sort of ideas or feedback or anything at all related to that. Okay, let's move on to something else then. Go big or go home. Well, I don't know. People have other thoughts. Anything else you want us to follow up on? Come on. Come on. Oh. Matt, you're M14, then what's the?
Just go to the, you just kind of paste from the live question.
Oh, is it in there?
Post ID, yeah, it's posted.
So this is an overview, essentially. This is an overview of what the team has done with the blog platform. And is there a link? Is this it right here?
Right there.
So again, this is a course being designed in the blogs at Penn State. This is essentially just the professional template, right? I mean, I don't think we've maybe done a couple of little things to it, but maybe not even, Brad.
It has the lessons listed on the side, which is in essence, instead of 10 pages, it says lessons.
Yeah. And we've added a light box, so when you click, you get like this nice little thing that shows the videos. Where's Tyrone?
You may have heard of CCD. If not, it stands for Colony Collapse Disorder, and it relates to the die-off of honeybee colonies. In the US alone, almost...
So you, sure. But each one of, Matt, how are these done? Are these each posts, blog posts, or these pages?
No, they're each pages.
Each pages. And what's interesting is because it's sort of an open platform, the thing that Matt and the team did to collect feedback during the alpha stage of this is they actually embedded a Google form. So as students went through the content itself, they were actually able to provide feedback, and I think you guys collected quite a bit of really good feedback on how the course was put together.
And then, when we were done with the alpha phase, we just stripped it right
Just pull the code out. So this is another example of we do have this platform sitting there, and I think that there's a lot of people that look at it and say, "Oh, blogs are just blogs," but they're really open publishing platforms. Last week I went and visited with Brad 6 Apart, and they're in San Francisco, and we spent some time talking about what this is all about. Carla talked about the Eportfolio Initiative yesterday. That's built on the blogs. We were able to, I don't know, I guess we'll just go ahead and say it. We're working with 6 Apart to give all graduating students free TypePad accounts for life. So what that means is if they build their ePortfolios in the blogs at Penn State, we would construct a middleware piece that they could one-click and move their entire ePortfolio into their own personal domain, and it wouldn't cost them anything. And they'd be able to keep that, and they'd continue to edit and do what they want to do with it. So that's a pretty interesting concept, right? Marty, because you guys you've struggled with that idea, right? Students come through, they graduate, and they say, we kill their web space 6 months after they graduate. Yeah, it's really not even 6 months. It's just like when the guy comes into work and flips a switch, you know. And so this would allow people to continue down that path. Carla's students, she had 50 students in her teacher ed program. 48 of them are demanding to keep their ePortfolio, 48 out of 50, because it's transformative to them as they go out and try to get their jobs, right? And up until now, we've been writing these migration documents, and you got to download all your images and then go to WordPress.com and upload this stuff, and it doesn't work. So we're working closely with 6 Apart now to make that happen. And I can't say when that'll be in place, but I'm guessing by the next time we have students graduating, so next December is what the goal is. It won't be ready for summer, but it'll be ready for the fall. So if you're on the fence about ePortfolios with some of your faculty and things like that, know that we're moving towards that. Yeah, Stuart. Yeah. So Stuart asked if I see, I guess, was the question, if I see the blogs as becoming a dominant platform for teaching and learning. So I would certainly hope so. I mean, that's where I stand on this whole thing is more towards we should use open, centrally supported platforms that interoperate with other platforms, and this does. You can move content in and out of this. XML is a pretty standard format. There was talk about killing Angel and moving away from it. I even saw tweets about it and everything. And right now, there really isn't a plan to do that, right? I mean, we know that Blackboard bought Angel, and I think we have a session on this, right? The 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Well, that was just
Dinner discussion. And we know Blackboard bought them. We know that Blackboard charges quite a bit for licensing, so I think you can safely assume that that's probably not going to be an option for the institution. But we are assembling committees right now. There are people in this room that are on those committees to start to really systematically evaluate where we should be. But I would say that we are at least a good 3 years away from having to make any sort of decision. But I do know that, I mean, I went through the World Campus thing when everything was in WebCT, and the transition into Angel was painful, and it's difficult. We went through it at IST. We licensed our own version of WebCT, and then all of a sudden we realized, oh crap, the university's going to Angel. Now we got to get all of our stuff out, and it's very difficult. So we're working to try to build templates that look a lot more like e-learning courses, so you don't have to run your own systems. I mean, the stuff that the eLearning Institute and Arts and Architecture have built with Drupal and Elms is brilliant stuff. And what we want to make sure we do, and Keith sort of touched on it, is have that interoperability there. So designers can use the structured tools that they've built if they choose to run that architecture and move it into the blogs at Penn State, or even design in the blogs at Penn State and move it up into Elms when it's time to do some real authoring. So I think we have options that are going to happen, and I think that we're going to see some things that are going to be released this year. Google and the Google Wave application, if you still have your buzzword bingo thing out there, will make collaborative authoring of content. So working in partnerships with faculty and staff will be a lot easier within this environment. Again, we can host that ourselves. It's an open source solution. We can integrate it with our own Penn State authentication. I'm not saying we will, I'm just saying we can. And that'll make things different. So it's going to require us all to rethink some of our design processes as well in development. Yeah, Vicki. And then I'll come back, Stevie. I'm sorry.
Plus, we're also working on designing this global learning on a common set of or commonly accepted set of fields so that exports from Angel can be
I will. So for those of you who didn't hear those on the wire, we are working with IMS. It's an international standards organization. We have people, TK, Lee, and Brad Kozlik, and Vicki, they're working on different projects within IMS. These folks are specifically working on a portfolio standard so that we could take portfolio content and easily, without any effort, move it into a department or a program assessment engine so that programs can do systematic assessment and for accreditation purposes. Vicki's working, it's called the Common Cartridge, which would allow publishers and other people to build standard cartridges that could plug into learning management systems that were IMS compatible. So that's happening as well. That's a good point. Stevie?
My question's back Steve. I like the idea of having this as a learning platform because of some of the things that came out in the discussion last session. My question is, in order for it to scale, I think it probably has to move out of the personal web space realm. So is there a plan in place to do that, to be able to sort of create these either in the personal web space or somewhere else and then move it somewhere?
Yeah, there is. So the way the blogs at Penn State work is that ITS runs this in their, in the data center essentially. So it's on heavy-duty machines. So it's scalable at that level. I mean, when we do this, it's for 150,000 users. We think it can hold up to. We're at 10,000 users of the blog platform. Our license is for 40,000, but we can just up that if we need to. We already are publishing in departmental web space. So if you have needs for that, we're doing it manually right now. And I don't want to open the floodgates on this because manually it means you send an email to Brad. And then he comes into my office and said, did you promise somebody else another goddamn departmental web space plug? But I can't tell you the number. That is our #1 request right now, Stevie. So like this course that Matt's building will be at courses.tlt.psu.edu/biology. And then that master course, that download, all the graphics and images will be stored centrally there. So you could take that and you wouldn't have to worry about rehosting the images and things like that. So already we can do that because, so departmental web space is all part of the same infrastructure that supports personal web space. Club web space is part of the same infrastructure. And so we're working with student affairs to allow clubs to use the blogs at Penn State as their interface to that as well. So the direction, you hit it right on the head, is the direction is that this will be a lightweight, thin content management system that anybody can take advantage of to do literally any web publishing task whatsoever. And it's really only limited to the kinds of templates that either you can build or we can build with you. Because it's completely open architecture, it's completely extensible. And in our visit with 6 Apart, they showed us some things that's going to be pretty amazing. Adding social features to blogs so you can follow people, live streaming in content from other web services, just some really wild stuff that I think will impress a lot of people in the coming year.
I just want to also add that, talking about PSU Voices and the impact of how we tag all the content down to this modular piece can now be found through that.
Yeah, and that's something we haven't touched on at all. It's a good point. Do people know about the blog? Oh, so I shouldn't show it.
Well, you can. I'll just repeat everything you said.
I won't show you the magic. I'll leave it for Brad. But I'll give you a hint. Maybe you can look at this ahead of time. If you go to blogs.psu.edu and click on the blog search, what Matt's talking about is both the tag aggregation and the search. So this searches across the entire system. And where this came from, the idea for this was what Twitter has done, right? So what Twitter is doing is Twitter now, because we're all sitting here writing all this great stuff, right? So they feel like they have an ocean of data running underneath Twitter. And Twitter is essentially a prediction engine. So you can go there and look at the trending topics and find out what you're going to read about in the newspaper tomorrow. That's what's so awesome about Twitter search. But what they can do is they can mine that data and produce results for you much quicker than even Google can because they're mining it every second, right? They're constantly indexing that Twitter stream. We wanted to do something similar here. So, for example, in TLT, we use the tag PSU TLT travel training for our travel and training reports. If you type that tag in there, you get every single blog post that's ever been written that uses that tag. And then as Brad will show you, the way it mashes it up with the social web on the side. And so you can use this for learning stuff. I mean, we use the example democracy and just the stuff that comes up. It's just amazing. Because again, we have 10,000 people writing, and about 5,000 of them are writing quite a bit.
This is a really amazing tool for me in the classroom. I use it for minute-by-minute assessment. So I used to have students write on a little piece of paper a metacognitive journal, one thing they learned today, one thing that they still don't understand. And so I just have this standing search for that tag. I have them tag their quotes in metacognitive journal. I just subscribe to an RSS feed.
Yep.
So at the end of every class, I just go into Google Reader, and it's all right there for me.
We're stealing Brad's thunder. But he's got more thunder. This is the thunder. You know what comes after thunder, right? Lightning. So I just did IST 110, and you see what happens is it pulls up all this stuff. Now, these are all first posts because somebody right now is running an IST 110 course, probably Bart Purcell, who made everybody get blogs and test that they could make a first post. But it pulls all this content in. And so what's nice is, like Jim says, it has its own RSS feed. Right? So you could subscribe to this. Or you could take this URL. This URL would never change, and you'd see updated content. And you could replace this like with the Lessons tab in Angel. So your students would come in and see a mashed up log of all the content that they're writing. Okay. Yeah, Chris.
One point, and maybe we can talk about this more with Brad, but I mean, I think there has to be some kind of work on the back end or on whatever end about educating students about using tags.
Agreed.
Other people who are using the blog platform, because every time I use voices, I'm feeling like I'm getting some great results, but I know there's a lot
You're
of
missing
stuff
stuff.
out there
Yep.
that I'm not getting.
You can search the text of everything as well. And that's when you can really, I mean, because again, people aren't using tags as well, so if you switch over a process, these are the post-tag democracy, but search for the word democracy. And
That's what I end up using more, because I don't trust the fact that people are tagging.
Yeah, and you get like 30 pages of results. It's crazy, like what you discover.
Yeah, we're pushing like 50,000 entries in the system, so there's a lot of writing, I think.
Yeah.
You can search for almost anything and find something.
And that was a comment that was made yesterday about, whether they're writing in the blog or writing in the papers. And Stuart, we talk about this a lot. Just the fact that we're getting people to write, I think, is a really important step. I mean, even in the course Scott and I teach, occasionally we'll get things written from some of our students, and we'll be like, "Are you serious? You're a doctoral student, right?" So practice writing is a good thing. Yeah, Dana.
One of the things I think is interesting about that is that there are a lot of news stories coming up about how Twitter and Facebook and all of these social media things are making it so that people are dumbing down their writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to one of my colleagues, and her daughter is on Facebook, so she's too young to be on Facebook, but they figured out.
She lied about her age. Yeah.
And she is a young girl who has struggles with writing. And it is delighting for mother to no end that not only is she reading all of this information that's coming in, but that she IM'd me yesterday about the new swimming pool at Park Forest, and she sustained her writing for several minutes, and that was something that was really, really exciting. So I think when we're doing these kind of things, not only are they reading more and writing more, but I don't think it's nearly as problematic as it's being out to.
I'm thrilled to hear that perspective. Really am. And the thing is that I know, like, for example, in the composition program, so you're not allowing students to write any differently in their blogs as they would if they were writing in a Word document, right? And so, I mean, that's where all this falls apart for me when people say, "Oh, it's a blog, it doesn't mean anything, it's just blah." No, it's writing. It's writing. Instantly discoverable.
Type in MS own writing. For the search.
I'm slow on a Windows machine. MS, what is it?
MS own writing.
Like that? Thanks for blowing my demo up.
Oh, MS 409.
Damn your eyes, Windows. This is getting good, Dana. Like that? There. Tech search.
I teach a class every spring, and these are all the blog entries that the students wrote each week. And before this, I had them bring in like 2 questions about the meetings so we could discuss them. And when I started using the Black platform, which by the way, Brad and Aaron were very kind to come in and teach the students how to use the blogs. Yeah, it was all there. She did a great job. But I was really excited. You know, some of these just say week 14, but some of them started to get much more creative and clever, even with the titles as they went along. So I really feel like it's a much better representation of who they were as students and what they were learning in class. And it's really, really pleased with it.
And what I like about this, so what's important about this to sort of recognize is this is a mashup page, right, of all this content. But if I really want to see, if I really want to comment and participate with this person, I click that and it actually takes me into that person's space. And when we're teaching with blogs and we're letting people write in their blogs, they are self-reporting to us, at least in the classes that I'm in, that they feel a greater sense of ownership towards their content because it stays with them. This is not a Word document that was uploaded into Angel and given away, essentially, and then archived X number of semesters after the experience. This is actually a portfolio piece, or could be a portfolio piece that that student takes with them and maintains and owns. So we're seeing this. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Many Penn State, most Penn State classes run in high-tech, not best rooms, and rooms with no computers at all. So none of us would want to go to work someday, any day, without a computer in front of us. You know?
Yeah.
Look at us here. The students go to work in Penn State classrooms every day with no computers in front of them. So the most ambitious teachers try to do things outside the class, but we can't sit here and do this. And Cole knows where I'm going with this. I've been advocating forever to anybody who will listen for Penn State to adopt what the College of Ed has done, which is a universal laptop requirement. The last ITS survey showed that 90% or something
95.
have laptops already, so we sort of have a de facto laptop program. About half bring them to campus, which is a weird kind of statistic. They don't think about their laptop the same way they think about their books.
No, I think actually only 13%, isn't that about right, Vicki, report bringing them to class, laptops.
Yeah, so this environment just doesn't exist at the everyday level of the undergraduate experience. So we do things out of class.
On the next Thursday, this fall, we're going to also ask, do they have a net goal? Whether having a net goal changes their willingness to take that up class.
But their teachers aren't saying,
Tyrants.
bring your laptops to class, this is what we do.
Yeah. Well, because we're afraid of the 3 who don't have them, I think in a lot of cases. Tyrone, did you?
I think I read in a minority in Korea being some kind of faculty community. And from my point of view, this has been really easy transition for me because you guys are already with this technology. People like us who's transitioning from catching fish under the water to biologists to trying to do all this stuff. It is quite intimidating. And this has been a really easy platform to be able to use and just get some kind of ownership of it really quickly because when you use Word, you can use a blog page. So it has been really, really good for that. I think it's that one of the biggest challenges that you guys are going to face is to get the guys in the finance office to be receptive to
Yeah.
technologies. It's got to be easy so that they don't have to spend a lot of time doing technology.
It's the challenge with everything we introduce. You know, it'll take years. It'll take years. But yes, Chris, did you?
I was just going to say to Stuart's teacher, I mean, it's not just, I mean, there's a real faculty culture problem about that. I mean, students will ask me, well, is it okay to bring my laptop in? And, you know, I have to actually encourage them and really, because there's a lot of faculty out there who say, you know, close those books.
Yeah.
I want your 2 eyes on me.
So we're like 20 minutes to 12, and I'm happy to stick around. Here's the thing. If you want to go have lunch, I'm not going to be Yeah. Yep. So, like, so if you use the plus in there with the space, you get things that are tagged with just those two. If you use the comma, you get content blogs or iPhone. You see what I mean? So, yeah. We just added it this morning. It wasn't there when you, so we knew you were going to ask that question, and we added it this morning. Yeah, Dana.
Really, really easy for you to check up on each student using this platform. So you just put their name
And it takes you right there, and you can engage with them.
Yeah, I was just going to add that, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the fall, the default is going to be the and instead of the or, because that's what people want.
Is that right? In the fall, so in the fall, it'll default to and instead of or. And again, we just changed that just for you. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks. Oh, thanks, Wade. That was nice of you. Yeah. Wow, that was really reassuring. One like 2 mini claps. That was great. Hey,
All right, thanks everybody. Enjoy lunch. I'm going to get my lunch and come back into the room and hang out here, maybe play around with some videos and stuff, get set up for the lightning talks. But aside from that, we'll see you at about 1 o'clock.